Welcome back to Ben's Top 10. And when I was a kid, parents didn't feel like they shouldn't be parents. There's no doubt about it. My childhood kicked grass. I was growing up at a time when we had the best cartoons, the best movies, the best video games, the best snacks, the best drinks, the best commercials, and the best reading material. But what I loved best was the cartoons. However, for every good cartoon that came out of my childhood, there were the not-so-good cartoons. The cartoons I loved as a kid, but as I aged, they didn't age well with me. These are the cartoons that, looking back, I couldn't believe I liked them as a kid. So, I'm counting down my top 10 cartoons from my childhood that have almost tainted my image on cartoons. So, get ready to have your childhoods destroyed. Here are my top 10 classic cartoons I hate. Number 10. Dexter's Laboratory. This show was part of the original cartoon stable that put Cartoon Network on the map. This cartoon is about a little boy who has a lab in his bedroom, and it leads to him having some very big misadventures as he tries to keep it a secret from his parents. I loved this show as a kid. Well, with Cartoon Network being my favorite channel, I loved every cartoon they aired. However, that's kind of what caused my love of it to get killed. I watched it constantly because Cartoon Network aired it constantly. I've watched every episode several times, and I just felt like I've seen it all, and there was just no more surprises from it. And that was one of the fun parts of this show. Seeing as how Dexter uses science a lot, you were always wondering what trouble he would get into next. But after knowing what was going to happen, it just didn't seem good anymore. And that's why this show is so low on the list. I'll admit, it's a good show, but for me, I've just seen it way too many times that I can't get myself to watch it anymore. Sorry, Dex, these days aren't fine days for science. Number 9. The Wacky World of Tex Avery. I'll start off by saying that I didn't grow up with this show. When I heard about it, I thought, The Wacky World of Tex Avery? Wow, that sounds awesome! Yes, you all know I'm a huge fan of Tex Avery's cartoons, so I thought this show would be just like them. I looked up some episodes on YouTube, and I can see why I've never heard of this show. This cartoon sucks! The characters are annoying, the animation is subpar, and the worst part is, it has Tex Avery's name on it. Talk about false advertising. Tex Avery cartoons are supposed to be wacky, fast-paced, but most of all, funny. This show wasn't funny. It was wacky, it was fast-paced, but it wasn't funny. It was loud, obnoxious, and felt like a show made by people with Tourette's syndrome. Yeah, so you can call this show the Looney Tunes show of its day, but give the Looney Tunes show credit. At least they tried to use the Looney Tunes characters. This show just made up its own annoying characters and slapped Tex Avery's name on it. What a disgraced animation. I'm glad I didn't grow up liking this show, and I just recently discovered it, because I never would have forgiven myself if I loved something this repulsive. Number 8. Cow and Chicken. Another one of Cartoon Network's original cartoons that I loved when I was a tyke. However, as I got older, I saw this show as being really disgusting and really weird. It was about Cow and her brother, Chicken. How they can be siblings, I do not know. And they go on misadventures. And that's about it. This show just doesn't hold up when you're an adult. For starters, it's a Ren and Stimpy ripoff. But Ren and Stimpy had more to it than just being weird at times. That's what made it good. This show was just being weird and disgusting for the sake of it. Also, the jokes were immature, the plots made no sense, and the characters ranged from being annoying to being downright intolerable. Some examples of how weird this show is came from one episode about Chicken and his friends bringing their favorite action figure, Sergeant Weenie Arms, to life. What the heck am I smoking? Wait, I don't smoke. Also, what's with the red guy walking around naked? If you're trying to appeal to the people that would find that attractive, that's a very small percentage of viewership. So, yeah, this show was something I can't stand to watch now. Although, that theme music is really catchy. Number 7. Challenge of the Super Friends. For years, this is what many people thought of when they heard the word superheroes. Boy, that was a bad representation. Anyway, this show is about the Super Friends. Superman, Batman, Robin, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and the Wonder Twins, and they fight against the Legion of Doom. What makes this cartoon so bad is that it was on in the 60s. And that was during the Silver Age of superheroes. And we all know what that means. Yeah, it was really bad. I mean, the way they portrayed the superheroes in this show, they made them look so incredibly stupid. Batman and Robin were idiots, Aquaman was useless, and the less I say about the Wonder Twins, the better. Sheesh, I can't believe the Legion of Doom haven't taken over the world due to how stupid the heroes were. Budget. The voice acting was annoying, and the show was just so incredibly cheesy, it was funny. That's the only redeeming quality of this cartoon, laughing at how bad it is. And if a cartoon is so bad it's good, then there's no doubt it can't be taken seriously. Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice, Aquaman is vacuuming because he can't do anything. Sorry, couldn't resist. Number 6. Famous Studios Popeye cartoons. The oldest cartoon series on this list. Yes, there was a time when Popeye cartoons sucked. And it all starts with Famous Studios. For those of you unaware, Famous Studios was the animation studio Paramount made after Max and Dave Fleischer were forced to leave the Fleischer Studios. After Max and Dave left, Famous made a lot of cartoons that Max and Dave started, and Popeye was one of them. Their Popeye cartoons are... well, the best way I can describe it is bland. The animation was bland, the characters were bland, the jokes were bland, the voices were bland, 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 bland. It was hard watching what they did to poor Popeye. Anyway, all the plots were the exact same thing, and they were always predictable. I'll give Famous this though, their 40s Popeyes are good, but not as good as Max and Dave's. It's the 50s cartoons when they really start to show how bad they are. And the Famous cartoons aren't as bad as the King Features cartoons or the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, but they started this trend of bad Popeyes, so it makes the list. So, Famous Studios is the classic cartoon studio you should stay away from. Number 5. Alvin and the Chipmunks. Hey, here's an idea. Let's give some fictional singers their own cartoon show. Genius! Yeah, real genius. Anyway, Alvin and the Chipmunks were fictional singers from the late 50s that gained popularity just for singing songs with high-pitched voices. I don't have any idea how they became popular either. So, in the 80s, Deke made their own cartoons. Thanks a lot, you Deke heads. So, we not only got annoyed by the Chipmunks' voices, we also got annoyed at their incredibly annoying antics. All this cartoon was the Chipmunks singing songs we love very badly and getting into trouble. It sucks. I just don't understand the appeal of these characters. Sure, some people say, "Oh, they're so cute." Yeah, since when did ear-bleeding helium voices become cute? Well, I guess it started with these buck-toothed jackholes, which would explain why Justin Bieber is so popular today. Bottom line, Alvin and the Chipmunks was a bland cartoon with annoying characters. I'll give this cartoon credit though. It's a lot better than those trash-covered live-action movies. Oh, great. Now I have to go wash my mouth out with soap because I mentioned those movies. Number 4. Transformers. This is a cartoon that was over way before my time, but since it's classic, I'm adding it to the list. I'm probably one of the few people I know that doesn't like this cartoon. Anyway, this cartoon is about the Autobots, the good robots, and the Decepticons, the bad robots, and they fight each other. No, there's nothing else. That's the whole plot. Anyway, that's my main gripe with this cartoon. It's just robots fighting each other. Some would say, no duh, what do you expect? I don't know. Would it have killed them to add more to it? I mean, the characters have no character. I can't tell most of these robots apart. But then again, maybe I shouldn't have expected good quality from this cartoon, seeing as how it was made just to sell toys to boys. Well, I don't support that. If you're going to make a cartoon, make a cartoon. If you want to sell toys, that's what commercials are for. In my opinion, the only good redeeming quality of this cartoon is Frank Welker voicing Megatron. Anything that man does, I love. Bottom line, Transformers are not more than meets the eye, because all they are robots that change into vehicles. Number 3, My Little Pony. Oh gosh, now we're getting into the really crappy cartoons. Anyway, the plot of My Little Pony is... there is no plot. It's just ponies prancing around, doing nothing, and acting all girly. Well, with that out of the way, now I can rip this rainbow color crap to shreds. Again, the ponies have no character. And again, I can't even tell half these ponies apart. None of these ponies are interesting! Firefly is the only good character because she's basically the prototype for Rainbow Dash. Too bad she only appears in the movies! Any other human girl would be freaked out there are talking ponies, but not this ditzy bimbo. And again, this cartoon is another money-making scheme by Hasbro. However, this cartoon was made to sell toys to girls instead of boys. Yeah, because things needed to be balanced out in the 80s. Anyway, I've heard from some people that this cartoon is actually good because the villains were good. Yeah, right. Most of the villains were weird and annoying, and they all had the exact goal. Use the ponies for God knows what, I don't care. I'll admit, the villain from the first movie was okay, but he's no Discord. Discord. Bum bum. Anyway, some might say I'm just bashing on this show because I love friendship as magic, but no. I gave this cartoon a chance, and I just couldn't take it. And I get so annoyed that when I say I like friendship as magic, people think I mean this pony crap. Has lovable characters. Has bland characters. The ponies in this cartoon are ugly. This cartoon is hilarious. This cartoon isn't funny at all. This cartoon is for all ages. This cartoon is for stereotypical 5-year-old girls. This cartoon is made by animators who know what they're doing. And this cartoon is made by animators who just want money. There you go. My Little Pony is every girl's dream, at least according to Hasbro, and every boy's nightmare. Number 2, Rugrats. I love this show. I don't know how many times I fell on my head as a kid either. Anyway, this show is about babies. Nothing else. Man, a lot of these cartoons are lacking in the story. Anyway, what I hate most about this show is it's a cartoon made for babies. So, when you grow up, it really loses its appeal. I don't think it's even good for a nostalgia trip. And I'm surprised at how many people my age love this show. For crying in the night! All it is babies talking about poop, puke, and several other gross things I don't want to talk about. Gross! But when the gross content isn't getting on your nerves, then the characters are. Tommy is just Tommy. Chucky is afraid of everything. I swear, this kid needs therapy. For Pete's sake, he thinks the Quaker Oats man is scary. Oh, come on! When has the Quaker Oats man ever been... Tonight, you. Okay. Anyway, then there's Phil and Lil, the most disgusting characters I've ever seen in a cartoon. These babies eat everything. Ants, 5-year-old macaroni that's been in the basement, worms. It's just too gross to bear. Not to mention, they get into arguments and they never shut up. Then there's Angelica. My gosh, I hate this witch. Even as a kid, I hated her. She's got nothing else better to do but pick on babies. Get a life! And I could talk about how dumb the adults are, but I don't want to be here all day. So bottom line, Rugrats is a bad cartoon show that I'm glad I was able to mature out of. Again, they're just babies. Do something! And the number one classic cartoon I hate is... I was going to make Rugrats number one, but there was one cartoon show I remember that I couldn't ignore. One cartoon that used to give me joy as a kid, but as I got older, took the joy and twisted it like a piece of stale taffy. A cartoon that I thought would end, but they just wouldn't let it die. And that cartoon is... Scooby-Doo! That's right, the cartoon that everybody loves, I hate the most! The cartoon about all those young adults solving mysteries with their annoying dog. I hate it! The franchise that's been going on for over 40 years, and it's still going on, and I'm not even going to talk about the plot, because everybody knows it. So, I'll get to why I hate this show. Like I said, I used to love Scooby-Doo as a kid. Who didn't? But I soon realized that every single episode of every single show of this franchise is the exact same thing. It got old so quickly. And the characters, oh my gosh, the characters. Fred is boring. Velma is so nerdy, it's annoying. Daphne is annoying, and Scooby's speech impediment just gets on my nerves. The only good character is Shaggy. Too bad he's a stoner that eats dog food. Okay, I'll admit, if Scooby-Doo Where Are You was the only show in this franchise, I wouldn't hate it as much. But no, Hanna-Barbera saw an opportunity and kept making show after show after show, adding new characters that we all hated. It just wouldn't stop! Scooby-Doo got voted Cartoon President in Cartoon Network's Cartoon Campaign 2000. Oh, give me a break! Aquaman would make a better president than Scooby-Doo! So, yeah, I hate the Scooby-Doo franchise, mainly for its repetitive. I find in this show is for those catchy songs that play during chase scenes. Too bad they don't have anything to do with what's going on screen! Anyway, had Cartoon Network not overexposed it, maybe I would be easier on it. But those wounds never heal. Gosh dang it! All the airtime on this franchise, wasted! It could have been used to air good cartoons, but no! Stupid annoying dog! And those are my least favorite cartoons from my childhood. This only shows, just because I grew up with something, doesn't mean I'm going to like it into adulthood. In my opinion, a good cartoon should be just as good, if not better, than it was when you were a kid. And these shows just don't age well. Anyway, tonight, you. Okay. Anyway, I'm Ben, and I'm signing out. Welcome back to Ben's Top 11. And when I was a kid, girls were into the things that boys are into now. Well, it happened again. I've discovered more cartoons from my childhood that I don't like as much as I did when I was a kid. Or I've always hated, but they're still from my childhood. There is a lot of cartoons on this list that boil my blood as much as any bad modern cartoon that I can think of. What are some of these cartoons? Well, let's take a look. Prepare to have your childhoods ruined. Again, here is my top 11 cartoons I hate part 2. Number 11, Rocko's Modern Life. Okay, I put this one really low on this list because I don't exactly hate it, but I'd still like to talk about it. So, this show is about a little wallaby named Rocko who lives in the anthropomorphic animal-populated city of O-Town, and wacky shenanigans in his everyday life happen from there. Now, as I said earlier, I don't exactly hate this show. I'm just not that interested in it. You see, many people say that this show was a landmark because it contained lots of content that was really edgy. However, aren't people forgetting about Ren and Stimpy? That cartoon came out 2 years before this one, and it got away with a lot more stuff. Rocko's Modern Life seems tame compared to Ren and Stimpy. Granted, I did laugh quite a few times at this show, and I do think it has lots of creative ideas. However, it's just not a cartoon that has had a real big impact on me. It's definitely one of Nick's all-time best shows, but I myself am not going to rip money out of my wallet to get the DVDs of it. So, I like Rocko's Modern Life, but it's just not something that I'm crazy about. Number 10, The Wild Thornberrys. Now, here's a Nicktoon that I never liked. Ever. It's about this family who travel all around the world to document wildlife. Sounds like a rejected Saturday morning cartoon from Animal Planet's non-existent cartoon block. However, here's the interesting thing this cartoon has going for it. Eliza, the main character, can talk to animals. That's about it. Yay. One reason I never got into this cartoon, it's so boring. All Eliza does in every episode of this show is talk to animals. And what do these animals have to say? Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Come on! The talking objects in Pee-wee's Playhouse were more interesting than the animals in this show. However, there's a moment in each episode of this show where there's danger involved, but I'm already reading a zoo book before that happens. On top of that, none of the other characters are interesting. Debbie, Eliza's sister, is a stereotypical witchy teenage girl. Donnie, some crazy native boy the Thornberrys adopted, is annoying. Darwin, Eliza's pet chimpanzee, is also a witch. And the less said about the parents, the better. So, The Wild Thornberrys is one reason why I watch Cartoon Network and Toon Disney more than Nickelodeon. Number 9, Terry Toons. We're going way back to the golden age of animation for this spot. Terry Toons was an animation studio that lasted from 1929 all the way to 1965 and was founded by animation legend Paul Terry. I'm still trying to figure out how he's a legend. Anyway, like Disney and Warner Brothers, Terry Toons had a lot of cartoon characters that starred in their cartoons. Heckle and Jekyll, Mighty Mouse, and Deputy Dog are just a few of the several stars they had. There's only one problem with Terry Toons. Their cartoons sucked! They had the lowest budgets of any animation studio at the time, and they were the slowest when it came to adapting to new technologies that were developing in the animation industry. This means that the animation was terrible, the voice acting was bad, and everything else about them wasn't well done. Even Paul Terry himself knew his cartoons paled in comparison to those of other studios. These cartoons were so bad that they are really hard to find these days. Sure, you can find a Heckle and Jekyll and Mighty Mouse cartoon here and there, but other than that, these cartoons are hidden treasures. Well, they're not exactly treasures, but they are hidden, for good reason. I'll admit, the only cartoons from Terry Toons that are worth a look at are the Heckle and Jekyll cartoons. Too bad the characters are just rip-offs of Daffy Duck, and their cartoons mostly consist of stolen Tex Avery gags. So, Terry Toons is one classic cartoon series that I myself, as a classic cartoon buff, won't be going out of my way to see anytime soon. Number 8, Cat Dog. Yet another Nicktoon, and I thought Nickelodeon was perfect when I was a kid. So, this cartoon is about a cat named Cat, and a dog named Dog, and they live in an all-animal city, and wacky shenanigans happen from there. So, what are some of these wacky shenanigans? Well, Dog runs away from Cat. Cat puts legs on where Dog is. Cat and Dog have a fight over a flea collar. They do get beaten up by this gang of dogs called the Greasers from time to time. But none of these are really interesting. Yeah, this is yet another boring cartoon. However, I slightly hate this show more than The Wild Thornberrys because with that show, I expected it to be boring. With this cartoon, I at least expected them to do something with it. You have a show about a cat and a dog that are combined together. How can you not take advantage of that? I used to really like this show, but watching it again, I just saw how dull and boring it is. The plots move at a snail's pace, the characters are one-dimensional, and a lot of the humor falls flat on its face. Every time I watch an episode, I forget about it 3 minutes later. However, I will say that Jim Cummings and Tom Kenny do an amazing job playing their roles of cat and dog respectively. However, a cartoon doesn't automatically become good due to voice acting. I need more than that. So, Cat Dog is one cartoon that I remember. Sort of. However, I can never get that dang theme song out of my head. Number 7. Casper. No, not the Saturday morning cartoon from the 90s. I'm talking about the original Famous Studio cartoons. We all know the plot. A little ghost is trying to be friendly, but almost everything he tries to be friends with has a wild take and runs away from him. The only friends he can find are little animals that he has to protect from whatever the heck is after the little animal. My main problem with the Casper cartoons is that they are really repetitive. All the cartoons are about Casper accidentally scaring something, but then he befriends a little animal. I can't even tell any of his cartoons apart. All I know is in one cartoon, he befriends a fox, and in another cartoon, he befriends a duck. That's the only difference I can remember about his cartoons. I'll admit, the wild takes of the things that Casper scares are well animated and funny, but after the 17th time, it really gets old. You see, if this character was done by any other studio, I'm sure they only would have used the character once and that would have been it. But no, this character was handled by the creative geniuses at Famous Studios, who took comic characters and put them in the same cartoon over and over again. Anyway, Casper cartoons are bland and repetitive cartoons that I think would have been handled better if they were done by another studio. Number 6. Chuck Jones's Tom and Jerry cartoons. I've been wanting to talk about these cartoons for the longest time, and now is my chance. As you all know, I'm a huge fan of the Tom and Jerry cartoons. Bill and Joel's cartoons, that is. They were full of great animation, well-timed gags, fast-paced stories, amazing music, and creative violence. However, after MGM shut down its cartoon studios in 1958, Bill and Joe left to start making cartoons for television. MGM then wanted cartoonist Gene Deitch to make Tom and Jerry cartoons that MGM would distribute, but they weren't very good. So, MGM made Chuck Jones make his own Tom and Jerry cartoons, and disaster followed from there. For starters, Chuck Jones wasn't a fan of Tom and Jerry anyway, so he wasn't going to be able to make cartoons that came near to the level of quality of Bill and Joel's. Also, Chuck Jones wasn't given that big of a budget to produce the cartoons, so they weren't going to be as well animated or paced as Bill and Joe's. Finally, since they weren't Chuck's characters, he didn't know what to do with them, so he did whatever the heck he wanted. Granted, Tom and Jerry still chased each other from time to time, but the cartoons got more experimental. Several animation buffs aren't huge fans of Chuck Jones's Tom and Jerry cartoons, and I can see why. They don't at all feel like Tom and Jerry cartoons. They feel like rejected Warner Brothers cartoons. People might say that I shouldn't bash on Jones's cartoons so much because many think that Gene Deitch's cartoons were worse. Well, it depends on how you look at them. With Gene Deitch, his animators weren't given model sheets to use for the characters, and his budget was lower than Chuck Jones's. So, you think that Chuck, being the expert of timing and pacing in his cartoons, would have made these cartoons better, but he didn't. The cartoons were slow, the gags weren't very well timed, and they didn't feel like Tom and Jerry. This solidifies my belief that I don't think people should be able to use other people's characters. Who knows what might happen? Number 5. The Smurfs. Oy vey, the Smurfs. Okay, so this cartoon was an 80s cartoon made by Hanna-Barbera based on a Belgian comic strip. The cartoon was about these little blue people called the Smurfs as it follows their little adventures. This is, in my opinion, Hanna-Barbera's blandest cartoon series, and with all the bland cartoons they've made over the years, that's saying a lot. Some people have said that this is basically a kid's cartoon, but I didn't even like it when I was a kid. Now as an adult, I know why I didn't like it. For starters, the characters aren't interesting. They're so uninteresting that they don't even have names. The only names they're given is something about their personality as a first name, and then Smurf as their last name. Examples are Brainy Smurf, Jokey Smurf, Papa Smurf, you get the idea. You know characters are bad when you can only distinguish them from their personalities. I'll give the Smurfs credit. At least they have personalities. Other than that, their characters aren't very interesting. Second, the plots are really boring. I'm sensing a recurring theme in this video. Third, the vocabulary of these little blueberry people is annoying. They replace almost every other word with the word Smurf, so you have no idea what they're smurfing. I mean saying! For example, somebody smurfed the bell. There are so many possibilities on how that could be taken the wrong way. Fourth, the villain, Gargamel, doesn't even know why he's after the Smurfs. Sometimes he's after them to turn them into gold, other times he just wants to eat them. Make up your mind! Fifth, this has bugged me since I was a kid. Why is Smurfette the only female Smurf? I mean, let's think about this. She's the only female, and the rest of them are boys. How does this species stay populated? That's as far as I can go because we're getting into unfamily-friendly territory. The best way I could describe this cartoon is, think of a PBS kids show that's not educational. Yeah, that sums it up. Bottom line, the Smurfs is one cartoon that I know I'll never Smurf again. Dang you, Smurfs! Number 4, Rocket Power. Okay, this cartoon came out in 1999, so it just barely counts as being classic. So, this show is about 4 kids, Otto, Reggie, Twister, and Sam, as they do awesome things like surfing, skateboarding, rollerblading, and other awesome sports. Oh yeah! This show would be awesome if I actually cared about sports. Yeah, this was yet another Nicktoon that I stayed away from. Okay, maybe it seems a bit dumb to hate this show just because it's about something I'm not interested in, but that's not what bothers me. They can make a cartoon about whatever they want, whether I'm interested in the subject matter or not. They just have to find a way to get me interested. This show didn't find a way. All it is are about kids playing sports. That's it. Oh, but the characters were interesting. No, they weren't. They had the cool boy, the girl, the weird boy, and the fat boy. That was as interesting as those characters were going to get. On top of that, I don't remember this show being funny. Then again, it's just kids playing sports. You can't get much with that. Bottom line, this show was just a show that Nick created thinking that every kid was going to watch it because they think every kid is into extreme sports. Newsflash, Nick, not all kids are! Number 3, The Magic School Bus. Even me saying its name just makes me want to facepalm myself. This cartoon was made by PBS because some person at their headquarters read the Magic School Bus books and thought it would make a great cartoon show. Now, we all know PBS. They're known for their educational programming. Yes, because that's why kids watch TV. To learn. Honestly, I hate educational shows. Kids watch cartoons to be entertained, so you shouldn't waste animation by making shows to teach kids. That's what school is for. However, the idea of this show isn't what's really wrong with this show. It's the show itself. It's about a teacher named Miss Frizzle who teaches a bunch of elementary school kids. When school isn't exciting enough, honestly, when is it? They go into their magic school bus that can shrink size and they see firsthand how things work. Just like I did in school, I fall asleep during this cartoon. The characters are... I can't even call them characters because they're so bland. I don't even remember any of their names. However, if there's one character in this show that is really messed up, it's Miss Frizzle. Okay, am I the only one who thinks she's on something? I remember one episode when they went into the body of one of the kids. White blood cells were about to attack them. All the kids were panicking. And how does Miss Frizzle react to this? That's right, kids. Those white blood cells are going to eat us up and get rid of us. What the truck is wrong with you? You're responsible for the safety of these kids, and all you do is smile and narrate when you and the kids are about to get killed? You're messed up, you freaking witch! Bottom line, the Magic School Bus teaches kids that they shouldn't be worried about school unless they have a teacher named Miss Frizzle. Seriously, lay off the happy pills. Number 2, the new Three Stooges. Oh, heck yeah! I love the Three Stooges. And I love cartoons. So the idea of a Three Stooges cartoon makes genius sound like an understatement. Well, they made a Three Stooges cartoon. And it friggin' sucks! For starters, the animation is terrible. It makes Rocky and Bullwinkle's animation look like Disney by comparison. Second, it seems like a cool idea to let the Stooges voice themselves, but they were so old at this point that even their voices lacked energy. Third, it was made during the Curly Joe era. I hate Curly Joe. He was no Curly, so it sucks that they made him act like Curly. Fourth, and the biggest insult, the Stooges didn't hit each other. That's right, the Three Stooges, known for their slapstick and violence, weren't allowed to have slapstick and violence. I'm so overblown with anger that I can't even shout, so let me finish this spot the best I can. The reason I hate this cartoon so much is because I never would think you could go wrong with making a Three Stooges cartoon. Think of all the creative gags they could have gotten out of this show. However, since it was badly animated, we knew violence wasn't going to happen. So, they make up for it by just having the Stooges mess things up. They mess up at things in the shorts, but it was funny in those because they had great comedic consequences. In this cartoon, there's nothing. Just bad voice acting by the poor aging Stooges. Screw this cartoon. If you're going to make a cartoon series of the most violent slapstick comedy team, make one of the most violent slapstick comedy animated shows out of it, you knuckleheads. Number 1, Pokemon. Remember in my anime video when I said I liked Pokemon? I don't know how many pixie sticks I had when I made that video either. Anyway, the plot of this anime is... Oh, come on! You all know the plot. Even people who haven't even seen it know the plot. So, I'm just going to get into why I hate this show. The characters have the personalities of dirt, the jokes are childish, and the Pokemon repeating their names over and over again gets really irritating. However, the biggest reason I hate this show is this. This show is repetitive. No, scratch that. This show isn't repetitive. It is the definition of repetitive, triple underlined. Don't believe me? Here, I'll sum up every episode for you right now. Ash, Brock, or Tracy, Misty, or May and Max, or Dawn, or Iris are walking around on their adventure. However, they run into a new Pokemon. They then meet somebody who is wasting their life away spending time doing research on or caring for that said Pokemon. They talk about the Pokemon. Ash then challenges the person to a battle, and Ash wins most of the time. Oh no, it's Team Rocket! Meowth! Wobbuffet! Chime chime! Team Rocket is trying to steal Pikachu for the 952nd time, and they almost succeed. Oh, the Pokemon the episode is about frees Pikachu. Pikachu, Thunderbolt! Team Rocket is blasting off again for the 952nd time. Ash and his changing friends say their goodbyes to the friend they met in the episode. They say they'll meet again. Spoiler alert, they never do! Cue closing quotes from the narrator, and we'll see you again next time when we do the same thing over and over again! This show sucks! I'm so sick and tired of seeing the same freaking thing! Oh, sure, there are those times when Ash gets to the Pokemon League and loses. That never changes either! For over 700 episodes, 700 episodes, this show has wrote the book on how to be a cliche of itself. I remember a recent Simpsons episode where Bart is watching Pokemon TV and he says, "Wow, I can't believe they kept it fresh after all these years." It's funny because it's ironic. It's not fresh. It's so rotten that a raccoon wouldn't eat it if it was a piece of meat. This show is like a parrot that isn't smart and just keeps repeating itself. I could go on with similes to describe how bad this show is, but then I'd be pulling a Pokemon. So, I hate Pokemon. I used to love it as a kid, but it was mass hypnosis that made me like it. So, Pokemon, why don't you put yourself on a Pokeball and never come out? So, there are even more classic cartoons I hate. Looking back on my childhood, there were really a lot of cartoons that don't hold up well. That surprises even me. Well, I'm just glad there were cartoons that did hold up, and those are the ones I'll never get tired of. Anyway, I'm Ben, and I'm signing out. I'm going to go Smurf the Smurf for smurfing my Smurf.